Hello, everybody. Excuse me. I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where I'm still sick. Uh, Today's better than most of the weekend, but still suffering from COVID. So I'm quarantined in my bedroom so I can relax and not infect my wife, who has not gotten it, thankfully. I hope everybody had a good weekend. Rest in peace, Jimmy Carter. I was looking to see if I have any films with him, and I haven't found them yet.
Hello, everybody.
But today is a theme show.
I'm Skip Alzheimer. Well,
Let me mute this. Sorry about that. Anyways, today it's films about hands. Enjoy.
Have you ever thought about what hands can do? The joy and music they bring, their usefulness. Hands that build a home, a hearth, cities, a nation. Hands for the great outdoors, moments of beauty. Hands for love, family, or prayer. Hands extended in fellowship. There are other hands extended across the seas where American soldiers fight. Hands bound with pain, hands crippled, never again to be used for the countless things we take so much for granted. Hands torn away by the likes of these and these. For them, there are fists, the mighty hands of America doubled into fists of anger. The hands of millions of workers, hands to give their skill and their love and their strength. Hands to grind, to fit, to hammer, to mold, to forge, to pour, to test, to build, to fight. Hands to deliver the knockout punch.
Hands to deliver the knockout punch. That's great. So that was, of course, trying to encourage people, citizens, to buy war bonds. This next film, we'll see if the French archive takes this down. But here we go. This is The Hands. Enjoy.
The pantomime I've chosen to show you now is called The Hands. It has been created in Paris in 1968. And of course, recreated for you specially in this new film production. The hands are the struggle of good and evil, revealed by the force of the hands themselves through symbolic movements. I've chosen to accompany the struggle of good and evil, Russian religious music, because I find that Russian religious music expresses very tragically the passion of man. It is like a heavy wail, an outcry coming from the soul and going beyond the singers and coming out like a spirit. Here are the hands.
everybody. I'm Vicky Carr. I sing, but I do not play the piano like Paderewski. Believe it or not, that's who's playing this piano right now. This is a 1923 performance by the immortal Ignaz Jan Paderewski, interpreting Chopin's Polonaise, just as if he were here today, playing this golden piano with invisible hands. There is no intermediary, such as a phonograph. You're seeing and hearing this piano recreate Paderewski's performance of half a century ago, with none of the nuances lost or changed. But you know, this reproducing piano is just one of the inventions you'll hear today, all played by invisible hands of fine musicians. Here we are amidst the world's greatest collection of automatic musical instruments in fully restored, perfect working condition in the Merle Norman Tower of Beauty at San Silmar, California. Imagine, if you can, the days before television, movies, radio, and stereos. Humans have always needed music and have played it themselves when they could. Those with enough money hired live musicians to play for them. And many people turned to the forerunner of today's phonograph, the automatic musical instrument. Middle-class parents saved for years to buy a player piano so their families could enjoy good music. And emperors and queens and multimillionaires bought full reproducing pianos like this one, or miraculous orchestrions, which I'll show you later. Let's see how these instruments worked. Paderewski signed each piano roll after he cut it. Then, on this full expression piano, it reproduces not only all the notes he played, but also all the complex expressions of tempo, phrasing, and dynamics that make each musician's performance unique. This brass track has 80 holes representing individual piano keys. If a perforation in the piano roll corresponds to a hole in this bar, it will play that piano key. Now, when these little holes appear on the piano roll, certain notes on the piano will play louder than others. I'm sure you're wondering how a tiny perforation on a paper roll can move these piano keys with the force of Paderewski's powerful hands. The answer is called pneumatics. It's the same principle that plays nearly all automatic instruments. Pneumatics means using the action of air pressure or vacuum to make something move. You see these bellows? When a hole on the paper roll is open, a little bit of air moves down through the tube to a valve, which opens up a port and applies vacuum suction to a pneumatic bellows. Each bellows applies the force needed to push a certain key or pedal. Want to see what makes the roll move to create this pneumatic action? The roll is driven by this little electric motor. Thank you, Mr. Paderewski. And now, I promised you orchestrions. An orchestrion is like an automatic orchestra. This Hupfeld Excelsior is equal to an 18-piece orchestra. It could play anything from a symphony to a popular song. Notice the exquisite craftsmanship. Every item in the Merle Norman collection was chosen for visual beauty as well as musical quality. This orchestrion took 3 years to make and was completed in 1926. A few years later, production of important orchestrions ended completely. And today, most Americans have never even heard of them. You can choose from 10 different rolls at a time, just like a jukebox. In fact, when Americans stopped making orchestrions, the biggest companies switched to jukeboxes. These are real accordions, which could be taken out and played by hand. This orchestrion uses 20 of those black pipes to represent the sound of one oboe. Each pipe plays a different oboe note. And there are several hundred pipes here. Watch this. My hand is covering up this little hole that makes the drum beat. Now, I pull my hand away from this hole and let air move through to the pneumatic bellows. See? Kind of sound like the natives are coming, aren't they? They're here. This orchestrion played for 40 years in a restaurant in Holland. And boy, did it have fun. People came from all over Europe to see and hear it. Couples used to hold hands to its music or dance. But now we're going to try something different. I don't think it's ever been done in the movies before. A singer for the first time is going to sing with an orchestrion. Music, Mr. Hupfeld, please. springtime in the Rockies, I'm coming back to you. Little sweetheart of the mountains, with your bonny eyes of blue. Once again I'll say I love you, while the birds sing all the day. When it's springtime in the Rockies, far away. Fantastic. Did you ever think the Rockies could swing like that? You know, I haven't enjoyed such a fascinating partner since I danced at the White House. The first orchestrion was invented in Sweden in 1789, the year our American Constitution was born. Beethoven, he composed music especially for an orchestrion, and the crowned heads of Europe all hurried to buy one. This is why. These music rolls were like early computer programs. In fact, the first big American computer company took over an orchestrion factory and used its expert workers to make computer logic systems. Look at these huge bellows that pump air, and they create a vacuum for this entire orchestrion. While these orchestrions and pianos enjoyed their heyday, the phonograph was still a squeaky, squawky box. Here's a very early Columbia gramophone. In case you can't understand the voice on the cylinder, he's singing, "Anyone's welcome at my house. Come after breakfast, bring your lunch, and leave before supper." And now, let's look at some of the earliest automatic music makers. Oh, here is a rare musical watch from France made before 1800. And charming little music boxes like this were the playthings of royalty. In ancient times, automatic pipe organs were programmed to play simple tunes by placing pins in a pattern on a revolving barrel. Then came the music carillons in churches, which used the same principle to play church bells. Protruding prongs on a revolving cylinder were the heart of this 1880 music box. These pins plucked the teeth of two identical cones for twice as much sound as you'd get from one cone. I wondered why a cosmetic company like Merle Norman displays music instead of makeup. And they explained that these instruments symbolize dedication to excellence and beauty and craftsmanship. And a company should strive for those goals too. And now let's return to a really special piano. It was presented to Emperor Franz Joseph, ruler of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, on the 50th anniversary of his reign. Apart from its beauty, it's just an ordinary piano, but you can see it's being played in an extraordinary way. This automatic player, built especially for the Franz Joseph piano, is called a Vorsitzer. In German, that means something that is set in front. When this Vorsitzer is set in exactly the right position, it plays the keys with felt-covered fingers. Guess whose hands are guiding this Vorsitzer? The great Norwegian composer Edvard Grieg, playing his own album Blot, Opus 28. Now, here's an orchestrion made in 1921 right here in America. This wonder light of colorful gems would revolve as the music played, and the automatic roll changer could play 30 songs without repeating itself. So would you like us to perform another song? We're so glad you asked. Okay? You got me on the go, fascinating rhythm, I'm all a quiver. What a mess you're making, the neighbors want to know why I'm always shaking just like a flivver. Each morning I get up with the sun, start a-hopping, never stopping, to find at night no work has been done. I know it didn't matter, but now you're going wrong. When you start to patter, I'm so unhappy. Won't you take a day off, decide to run along somewhere far away off and make it snappy? Oh, how I long to be the one I used to be. Fascinating rhythm, oh, won't you stop picking on me? Thank you, thank you. And now let's look at some other instruments that entertained our grandparents. Now let me show you what a nickel could really get you in the good old days. This self-playing violin has its own piano accompaniment. People used to dance to these violins in restaurants and in private homes. You see, that's a real violin. Each string is stopped at the correct interval by electromagnetically controlled fingers. The bowing action of a human artist is duplicated by these 4 rosin celluloid discs that revolve and play 1 to 4 strings at a time. Would you believe? Aha! Now here's an automatic banjo. These 4 banjo strings are plucked by tiny little fingers. Little leather-covered buttons stop the strings along the fret at the correct spot. This paper roll calls the tune. These banjos, oh, they were popular around the turn of this century, but they're very rare today. In case you want to know more about the Merle Norman Tower of Beauty, it's quite new, and it's located near Los Angeles. Group tours can be arranged by appointment. This Grand Salon displays some of the world's loveliest classic automobiles, all in restored driving condition. Each car here is able to drive out for a spin at any time. Another example of functional fine art created in a spirit of excellence and elegance. This Avion Voisin touring car once belonged to Rudolph Valentino. Now back to the Golden Steinway and the invisible hands of Paderewski. I hope you've enjoyed this visit to a romantic past, when skilled craftsmen joined with talented musicians to generate beauty for eye and ear. They devoted their art to the vision of the poet who proclaimed, music, the greatest good that mortals know, and all of heaven we have below.
Testing. I'm sorry. There is, I don't know, I'm doing this from my bed, and I thought that I was hitting the mute button and unmute button, but I didn't. So what I had said before was like, why did Merle Norman make this film? The cosmetics company. And Ms. Carr explains it in the film, but it doesn't justify it in my mind. It doesn't quite seem right. So there you go. It's all in my hands. I've shown this one before, and I love it. Enjoy.
and tap, making a pair of shoes. In the shoemaker's shop, this refrain would never stop as he tapped away, working all the day. At his bench there was he, just as busy as a bee, little time to lose with the boots and shoes. Then he tapped and he stitched, for his fingers were bewitched, and he sewed a dream into every seam, making shoes oh so easy.
Shoe repairing to me is a living. Well, it's honest work. It's honest work and hard work. And from day to day, you just don't know. Once you open up the door of that store, you don't know what to expect. Every day is a different challenge in this business. The average person today doesn't like his job, isn't happy. I enjoy coming to work in the morning because it's a challenge. That's why I like my work. I like working with my hands. A lot of my customers take my advice in repairing shoes because a lot of customers have faith in my work. Usually when they come in, they give me the bag and say, please take care of them. Whatever it needs, because they know I'll do a good job. Today there's modern machinery, and there's a whole different way of fixing shoes. When you finish a pair of shoes, at least today, you could notice the difference. The shoe looks new. It doesn't look like it's been repaired. Well, when I first started in this business, my father told me, he says, John, he says, you have to take a trade. And he says, this is a good trade. It's good as any. He says, because don't forget, you have to remember one thing. People are always walking. And he says, as long as they're walking, you'll be working. And he says, just take a little pride in your work and you'll be a success.
Well, although I've been saying, and I talked to my son John, that in the future, this is going to be good trade. First, he don't want to listen to me, but little by little, he put on his head to learn the trade. And today I want to say that he come out a little professional, and I'm proud of him.
When I'm working on a pair of shoes, I feel it's like living life. I take my heart and soul into that shoe and I treat it just like it was my own. And I make a good job of it, and I do the best I could, the best of my ability, the best of my craft. Shoe repairing is more than just fixing a pair of shoes. It takes a lot of work, a lot of know-how. Some people just don't understand what goes into it. They think that's all it is just banging on a hammer and that's it. Or banging on a pair of shoes and putting a nail in a shoe. But it takes more to it than just that. There's not too many shoe repairing men around today opening up stores or anything, because once the old timers go on, that's it. what remains is an empty store with a lock on it. I think today more young kids should go into this business. Or they should have schools for them to learn the trade. Because it's a good trade. After all, I mean, like I said, we all can't be doctors or lawyers. Well, I owe my success to my father. Because when I was young, I never wanted to pick up a hammer or read a book or nothing. I was just like every other kid at 15 years old, stand on a corner. But today, I thank my father for breaking me into the business and showing me how, that there's more to it in life than just standing on a corner. I feel I'm playing an important role in society because when I do a pair of shoes and they come out nice, I know the average guy outside can't do the same either. That's why I feel important. I feel like I'm wanted. The average person hasn't got the craft I have. It's all in my hands. Shoemaker today will always be. You'll need them today and you'll need them years to come. Because as long as people are walking, they're wearing shoes. And as long as they're wearing shoes, they're going to need somebody to fix them. And that's me.
In the shoemaker's shop, this refrain would never stop as he tapped away, working all the day. At his bench, there was he, just as busy as a bee, little time to lose with the boots and shoes. Then he tapped and he stitched, for his fingers were bewitched, and he sewed a dream into every seam, making shoes oh so neat, just like magic on her feet. And he hoped she'd know that he loved her so.
What a wonderful slice of life film. As long as people are walking, they'll need shoes. It's great. Okay, so this next film is I feel like jam handy opus to the workers at GM. It's called Master Hands, and it was entered into the National Film Registry at some point. I feel like in the early 2000s. Enjoy.
From the master hands of the tool makers to the hands that master the great machines come the tools and patterns and dies. And then the factories start.
Tell me, Mr. Dill, how did you happen to discover this amazing talent of yours?
Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Hagerman. In the year of 1914, in the month of February, I was coming home from school, and my hands got very cold, and you see, I had no mittens. And I began, of course, pressing them together to get them warm, and that wouldn't do. Well, pretty soon I began squeezing them, and I was surprised to think that I could make a few different sounds. Well, then I began playing every day, and pretty soon I could play Yankee Doodle clear through. And that was the only tune I could play for 3 whole years. And the next tune I could play was Marching Through Georgia, then The Trail of the Lonesome Pine. Then for about, everybody wondered then how I could do it, and would bother me so much that for about 6 years I put it away until I met an old showman that come up to Traverse once, and he said, "Can you do your old novelty anymore, Cecil?" And I said, "I don't know, but I'll try." And I tried, of course, and it come right natural to me after letting it go for 6 years. He said, "Well, if I was you," he said, "I would practice it up and see what I could do sometime in the stage when I was in Chicago."
Well, I couldn't have a musical tribute to Hands without having a tribute to musical Hands. That was from a Universal newsreel, and I actually last year or this year paid to get an HD copy of that, but I could not hunt it down. I couldn't find it because I am stuck in my room. And what am I doing being stuck in my room? I'm watching a lot of YouTube. I'm watching a lot of Kolchak, the Night Stalker, which is on Peacock. And I saw these episodes when I was a little kid, and they scared the hell out of me. And what I realized is Kolchak takes place in the same city and time as the Bob Newhart show. And John Fiedler is in both shows. Mr. Peterson plays a morgue attendant in Kolchak. It's crazy. And I just want there to be this overlap because there's a lot of elevated train footage, and I'm just hoping that Kolchak will drive past Bob Newhart at some point. Anyways, that's what my brain has been doing. Also, to fall asleep, I watch a lot of, there's these channels on YouTube called, they're Asian, Japanese, called The Process, and there's a couple of variations on that different, there's one based in Korea, but if you want to see footage of contemporary people, artisans making stuff, kind of like with the shoe film that we showed, they show a lot of stuff there. It's amazing. And there's no narration. So if there's any one that you watch and there's narration, don't watch it. But some of them, there's music, which is kind of annoying, but some of them, it's just the sounds of what's happening. So it's kind of AMSR-ish. And it's beautiful. And it's also insane to see the amount of work that they take to make a ukulele or to make a tent or, all these different things. So there are still people making things. It's not all robots. It's not all assembly line. Although I love me an assembly line. So anyways, that's what I've been watching. And hopefully this week I will get better. I'm already feeling better today than I did this weekend. So that's good. My sinuses. I mean, COVID for me is just like a really bad cold. So it's out there. Also, norovirus is out there. So wash your hands. And be careful handling children because they are sponges for these viruses. And anyways, thank you, Kevin, for donating to via the Super Thanks button. You can also go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks or patreon.com/avgeeks. Those are great ways to support us. And that money is going to pay rent on 7 storage units. And I have not been able to go to the storage units recently because I have been sick and don't feel like doing it. But I'll get back to there soon enough, and we'll start watching more new stuff. You can also hit the like, the subscribe, the thumbs up button. Those are great ways to support us, and we are uploading new stuff every day. Stuff that we've digitized over the last 10 years, maybe longer. But anyways, thanks again for tuning in. I always appreciate your eyeballs and your comments, and we will be back again tomorrow. Everybody take care.